getting everything set up here. My brother's getting everything coordinated. I am going to, while he's doing that, I'm going to go through and get everything set up here, get all the shares done and all that. So,
There we go. Oh, shoot. I mean, crud. I want to do cold cussing.
unbelievable. Okay. There we go. All right. Man, for some reason, it's just really slow on Facebook sometimes. It's weird.
Becca is down today.
Is it really?
Yeah. Becca's down, and so they thought for a moment that the Wi-Fi was down, but that was Becca for maintenance. So thankfully, we good.
That'd have been a bad deal.
Chief Meteorologist Ken Bistargi says, sunny, 45 degrees, a high of 54 today in Northeast Ohio.
Nice.
How about Northwest Ohio? See, we've got Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest covered. We need somebody to report in from Southeast.
We really do.
Marietta. We need a listener in Marietta. We need to get Pastor Raleigh Schwindeman.
I mean, Pastor Tony Richards, he's close. Tony Richard.
Well, that's fair. No, that's true. That's true. He's more South Central, but yeah.
You know, those folks that have no S, it's like the deal the other day I saw about Walmarts and JC Penney's and all that stuff. Did you see that?
No.
He was making fun of all the people that call it Walmarts and JC Penney's and
yeah.
Aldi's. Aldi's is one I was not aware of. But those people I know, like the Michael crew that's part of the Mobilized Church Network.
Yes.
They're not real fond of being called the Michaels.
True.
So I said Tony Richards. I issue an apology for that.
Gotcha.
I retract that.
I see where that was. Okay. Yeah. Track it with your line of thought there.
Right.
Yeah. Tony Richards. Our district superintendent, James Starks.
Do you remember a pitcher for the Houston Astros? I think he had a stroke while he's pitching. His name was J.R. Richard or Richards. Do you remember which one it was? Remember that?
It was Richards, wasn't it?
J.R. Richards, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like it was J.R. Richards.
Bro, you know you're having a bad day when you have a stroke while you're pitching.
Dude, I remember that game. Do you remember? So back in the day when we were kids.
Nope, it's Richard, bro.
Is it J.R. Richard?
It is Richard.
He might be related.
Tony Richard and J.R. Richard.
There you go. I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, they used to have Monday Night Baseball. Do you remember that?
What?
Yeah.
Monday Night Baseball.
I feel like that happened on Monday Night Baseball. Monday Night Baseball.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
It says on July 30th, 1980, Richard suffered a stroke and collapsed while playing a game of catch before an Astros game caused by a blood clot in his neck.
See?
Oof.
That's a bad day, bro.
Uh-huh.
He was amazing, too. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think at the time they had Nolan Ryan and J.R. Richard on the same team. And they, like, both would throw, 105 miles an hour, strike out everybody.
Somebody, it said that he had a headache and a feeling of weakness through his body, eventually progressed into vision problems and paralysis. It said, it was in his carotid artery. They had emergency surgery, and it said in 81, he underwent a rehabilitation program with the aim of recovering from the effects of the stroke. trained with the Astros, Texas Southern, participating regularly in pitching and batting practices, blah, 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 blah. Was put on the 40-man active roster on September 1st. It says, but Bill Verdon,
Good old Bill Verdon.
he thought Richard was not ready to return, so Richard did not pitch with the team during the last 2 months of the season. So it says in the following year, Richard pitched in a single spring training game and then went into extended spring training in Sarasota. He registered 3 wins and 2 losses, 3.38 ERA, pitched 32 innings. He joined the Major League Rehabilitation Program with Daytona Beach Astros.
Okay.
He played for the Tucson Toros, Pacific Coast League. Said he struggled to control the ball. So he said,
Interesting, 'cause I didn't think he pitched again. I thought his career was over. I thought it ended. That's interesting.
listen to this, man. Doggone it, poor fella.
We've gone down a rabbit hole.
Poor guy. In 1983, Richard started to complain of pain in his left calf. The synthetic graft inserted in his July 1980 surgery had closed off, which meant that he needed a surgical bypass in his left leg.
Oh my goodness.
Richard was granted free agency in 83, but the Astros still had faith in him. So he was re-signed on February 17th. It turns around for the good.
What a story. There needs to be a movie.
Just a little over 2 months later, he was released by the Astros, thus ending his baseball career.
What?
Despite an almost complete recovery, the risk of future complications was just so great that he never pitched again. His final major league record was 107-71, 1,493 strikeouts, and 3.15 ERA in 238 games, pitching 1,606 innings. Oh, Nolan Ryan broke his Astros record for career strikeouts in 1987.
There you go. Nolan Ryan. The greatest Nolan Ryan moment, of course, is the infamous Robin Yount incident when he beat the ever-living snot. Why did that dude? Was it Robin Yount? No, it wasn't Robin Yount. It was the dude from the White Sox.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name?
I watched that the other day. I watched it the other day because there was somebody had posted something and it said something about Nolan Ryan.
Oh, Robin Ventura. That's who it was.
Yeah,
Robin Ventura.
Yeah. Somebody had posted something about Nolan Ryan. It said something about after 40. He said something about after 40, his fastball slowed down from 103 to 101, and he only struck out 1 out of every 3 batters instead of 1 out of every 2. It says that's a lesson to all of you. To something about it was just being dumb. Like that's a lesson to all of you that getting old happens to all of us or something.
Right. For real. All right, we're back, bro. We're back.
We can't say better than ever.
No, and
we're back.
And hopefully back on schedule, as I like to say.
Back on schedule.
Hopefully we'll see how that goes. But as far as I know, I don't have any travel or anything planned in the foreseeable future.
Praise
God.
God.
Here we are.
Chief meteorologist Ken Bastarkey's asking how my neck is doing.
Can you give us a medical update?
So I've been doing my stretches. I had done better until we went to. I was doing better, and then we went down to Knoxville. Chris and I did a retreat down there, a pretty amazing retreat, and it started kind of flaring up a little bit. So I'm working it back. I've got I had a friend of mine, a golfer, who had a similar situation, and I got a neck stretcher. This neck stretcher deal.
Is that what the Aborigines do or whatever? Don't they? Or the Africans, they do the neck stretcher?
Keep it in the rings. No, this is a deal that you
what group is that? That's not the Aborigines, is it?
This thing recreates the curvature, the proper curvature in your neck and whatever. And it really helped. It really honestly did help. And so anyway, but it's so I golf with a guy that's a neurosurgeon, and he does spinal surgeries and stuff like that. And he told me, not knowing, he said it could be, he said it's certainly not a herniated disc or you wouldn't be able to even, stand it. He said it could be a bulging disc. He said it could just be it just could be kind of compressed a little bit. He said, which would be the best thing because you can stretch it out and eventually it'll get better. But I was having some tingling down my left arm. So I'm probably going to have to back my drives down a little bit next year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have
I
to
could
back it
still,
down from 310 to 305.
yeah, I was thinking, 310 to 290.
Wow. I'll
Yeah,
believe it when I see it.
I'm gonna take 5 to 10% off. So
I love it.
can
I love it.
can I be committed to that? You know what? Maybe I hit more fairways and I've got more birdie opportunities than.
Says the guy who just bought the swing sticks to increase your swing speed.
I did. What the blue blazes was I thinking?
Mine was supposed to be in yesterday, so hopefully
You got them.
Yeah, I ordered them.
Let's go.
So we'll see what happens. That's happens.
Awesome.
So I do want to mention real quick, our man Gary Gauthier mentioned Mark the Bird Fidrich. You remember that dude? The pitcher?
Mark Fidrich.
Monday Night Baseball.
It sounds like all the people that used to be like, there was like a group of people in baseball cards with that little. Remember that little terrible flat piece of gum that was in there and you ate it anyway?
Yeah.
And like there was these guys that were I don't know, there's maybe like 20 or 30 baseball players that one of those was in every stack of baseball cards.
Absolutely.
Why did they do that? And you wanted like we were, I remember one year you were trying to get like 1, 2, 3, and 4 from the Pittsburgh Pirates one year. I don't know if you even remember that. You were just little, dude. Like you were trying to get, you had like Dave Parker and Willie Stargell.
Willie Stargell, yeah. Yeah,
and
Bill Madlock, maybe.
Yeah. You're trying to get 1, 2, 3, and 4. So Stargell was what, 3, Parker 4? Is that where they were?
Oh man, I don't even remember. That's going back. That's going way back. I do remember this. My favorite player of all time is Ryan Sandberg, right? Like I imitated everything, try to be Ryan Sandberg. But one of my favorite all time players is a very obscure Cub. I don't even know if you know this. No. You ready?
I was gonna say Willie McGee, but no.
No, man. Boo, Willie McGee, the ugliest baseball player of all times, man.
Hey, the best bunt singler of all time, though.
Jerry Morales. And the reason why is when we were little, we went to a Cubs Cardinal game, and he was playing left field for the Cubs, and he took me on the field for a minute. And so he became my favorite baseball player. He used to do the basket catch, the famous basket catch. Jerry Morales.
Old Jerry Morales. Can you believe that?
Yeah, we don't want to bring up too much pirate stuff. I'm gonna get going here. We don't want to get going on the pirate stuff.
Check out the Mobilized Church podcast or Mobilized Church Network text.
There it is. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
my dude, man. It's my dude, Jerry.
This is why two people are better than one at podcasting sometimes. Because, while one is telling a story, the other one's pulling it up, and we could really do some YouTube, really cool things.
Or searching on the internet.
Yeah. Just search it up on the Googles.
Googles. That's awesome. Oh, man. All right. You ready to go?
Oh, man.
Hey, we need some help today. I know. Look, we know the schedule's been crazy, but people, do us a favor. Would you hit the share button, get the word out that we're going out? And I will say this. When I tried to find it initially, the old pod didn't show up on Facebook. So get the word out, share, let people know, because today's going to be a really good conversation, Ken.
It really is.
It's going to be a good one. And it's going to kind of really be Dillingham unscripted.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens here. So, all right, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mobilized Church Podcast. This is Chris Dillingham, alongside my big brother Ken Dillingham, Jr. the Third, And once again, we're saying back and the same as always.
Yeah.
Not better than ever. We're just back.
No, we don't get much better. It doesn't get much better than this.
When you reach a certain level,
It's as good as it
there's a
gets.
cap. There's a cap. There is a cap. Oh man, that's so awesome. We're back. We had a good week last week.
Mhm.
Got to hang with some of the guys from some of the people from the Mobilized Church Network. The Hummels were with us. Les Cott and Connor Brown were with us at
Plural,
the.
because there was more than one Hummel.
There were more than one Hummel.
Yeah.
Yes, add the S onto the end of that, right? Like Aldi's,
Yeah.
Walmart's.
Yeah.
So we had a good time. We had a good time at the Ignite Discipleship Retreat. So we had a good time in that. So it's been a busy season, Ken. Let's just be real. It's been a busy season.
It's true. And I mean, we could spend this entire podcast just simply doing a tour, like a travel and tourism podcast of all the sights and sounds and foods of Italy. I could
Well,
just
we could do
interview you,
that.
but
We
we
could
would
do
have
that.
less than normal on our live recording.
It would start to decrease drastically. Absolutely. We had an interesting discussion already this morning. We did a little go back in time, kind of like a This Week in Baseball back in time deal.
Mm-hmm.
Little conversation about J.R. Richard, no S on the end
Yep.
of his name, J.R.
Yep.
Richard. I just saw Gary Gothier commented about Shawan Dunston, actually Sean
Mhm.
Dunston, but it's spelled Shawan, so I always called him Shawan Dunston, the great shortstop for the Chicago Cubs. So we go back and we could do a whole baseball deal, but that's not why we're here, Ken.
No, we're here to. Why are we here?
About to figure that out. Is today Mrs. Dillahan's birthday?
It is, yes, it's Miss Dillahan's birthday.
Big time shout out to Mrs. Dillahan on
Yeah,
her 30th birthday. Something like that, right?
she's she's just celebrating. I don't know, I can't remember what this is her annual celebration of her 30th birthday, but I won't tell you which.
Exactly. Smart man. That's a man who's been married a long time. He knows. Well, hopefully you're gonna take her out for good dinner tonight. And
You
so
know,
we got
can I
her.
tell you something
Yeah,
crazy?
tell me.
She's not feeling super duper.
Oh
And
no.
so Kaylin's coming over and everybody's coming over, and Kaylin said, "Well, I'll just come over." She said, "Why don't we just you can sit and just sit in the chair and we'll put a queen crown on you and I'll fix supper and you don't have to even lift a finger." She
Look at
said,
that.
"Actually, that sounds like an amazing birthday," she said.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't know. You could throw something on the Traeger. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. You ready to rock and roll today?
I am so ready. So ready. Leadoff hitter for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1978 was Omar Marino, by the way.
Omar Marino,
Tom Foley.
1978.
Dave Parker was 3 and Stargell was 4.
Here's all I know. In the epic wiffle ball games in Odin, Illinois, everybody at some point would turn around and hit left-handed, and everybody would do the Willie Stargell
point, yeah.
right?
Or
The
one hand.
and he would flip his bat. He'd flip his bat around. And
Yeah.
so everybody used to do that. So my nickname, okay, since we're doing obscure baseball players real quick, my nickname growing up in Illinois in Odin for until I was in about 4th grade, my nickname was Cristo.
Yep.
As a play on the obscure baseball player Sixto Lezcano.
Yep. Cristo Lescano, we call you.
Sixto Lezcano.
We call
How? I don't even know.
Cristo Lescano. That was you, bro. And you
Jeff,
you could turn a double play though. You would turn a double play. When we played wiffle ball, we play like 6-man wiffle ball and have 3 on a team.
Yeah.
And remember we play if if you catch the ball before it stops rolling, it's an out.
Absolutely.
In the air, of course, and then you could throw it at the bat, a runner. If you hit the runner between bases, they were out. And I've seen you turn a double play at like 7 years old. I seen you turn a double play, picking up a ball that was spinning backward to the batter, and then flip it and hit the guy on first as he's trying to go to second.
It's awesome. So it happens when you play with guys that are 4, 5, 6, 7 years older than you are at all times. So
Yeah, you got to step up or
you got to
get
step up.
get stepped up or get stepped on.
Absolutely. Or the epic football games at the
Oh,
Deadmans when I would hold on to your shirt
I was
and
gonna
when you
say
just
that
plow through. I just hold
that
on to
kind of
you and let you do the heavy work.
scared me a little bit. That kind of scared me a little bit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's get rolling today. And before we get started, hey, do us a favor. I mentioned this in the pre-show, but if you could do us a favor, hit the share button. Again, our herky jerky schedule, I know is impacted just a little bit. So help us out, man. Hit the share button, get the word out, let people know about this, or you can go back and watch the replay later on or listen to it. So appreciate everybody being on today, and we want to get right after today, Ken. So I'm just going to kind of throw it to you and let you set this up. Just a conversation. And man, I think this is such an important, I think, understated piece of disciple making, discipleship. Um, and I think it's so relevant in our world today. The truth is, we do everything we can to make our lives as safe and as pain free as possible.
Hmm.
I preached on Sunday. It was part two of an unintended series. It was going to be one message turned into two, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, you sure do.
And so I was preaching, and the title of my message was "Your Pain Has a Purpose,"
Hmm.
and talking about from the very beginning, God, with Adam and Eve's disobedience, uh, the Lord said to Adam, you've been able to enjoy the fruit of the land without really any labor. There's no weeds, there's no thorns or thistles, but you're going to have to labor. But your labor is going to harvest the fruit of the land. So out of the
Yes.
pain is going to come a harvest. And then he said to Eve, there's going to be pain in childbearing, and there's going to be pain that comes from your disobedience. The serpent is going to bruise the heel of your seed, but out of that pain is going to come the Savior who's
Yeah.
going to crush the head of the serpent.
The
So
capital
the
S seed.
the Lord said, "I'm going to redeem the pain for my purpose." And and looking at our world, we do everything we can to eliminate and alleviate pain. We want
Hmm.
we want the most comfortable lives we possibly can, not understanding that. And sometimes we have this view and perspective that pain is hindering us, or discomfort is keeping us from the things God has for us. And in reality, it's oftentimes God's mechanism to get us into his purpose and get us into his plan. But we can short circuit, Ken. We can short circuit God's plan and God's purpose in our life if we don't have commitment
Yeah.
through the process.
So
So I'm
true.
going to throw it to you today. We're going to talk about discipleship, commitment, and what that means, what that looks like. So I'm going to let you just go ahead and set the conversation up today.
Very cool. No, I think, and that was a great framework that you established, because I do think that where we are in the world today, particularly and Christianity in North America, it's there's so many people in North America today who have been in they've been sort of they've been enveloped into they've been folded into this teaching and theology that that part of what God does, God's goodness is you know to to cause to cause people to have a good life, you know
Yeah, absolutely.
one of the largest pastors of one of the largest churches in the United States had a book, your best life now. It's this, like, this idea that says you can that the abundant life that Jesus came to offer us is a life that involves all of the things that we commonly associate with a good life.
Right.
And but the reality is that what Jesus was talking about when he was talking about abundant life was probably not what we would normally associate with abundant life or a good life. Like people, anybody without any relationship with God would associate the good life with having a 3-car garage and a house that continually increases in value, and a boat and a hunting lease, and all those
Right.
kinds of things.
Right, right, right.
And so our idea of the good life is probably not a exact equivalence to Jesus's idea of the abundant life. And by the way, probably not, probably is a slap in the face in some ways to the abundant life that God is offering to people in places like communist China, the underground church in communist China, or the abundant life that God is offering to people in certain underdeveloped third world type countries. Y- y- you know, if what some of the books say is the good life, then boy, God's shortchanging a whole lot of Christians around the world that are facing poverty and persecution.
Right.
And so with that being said, I think that's an important setup,
Yeah.
because we're living in a world today where commitment is on the decline.
Yeah.
Interesting story. At the age of 67 years old, Thomas Edison watched as a fire destroyed much of his work and his equipment. And somebody actually asked him, is it time to give up? Is this the time to just hang up your lab coat and just, go away? And he said, not even close. Direct quote. Thomas
Yeah.
Edison said, all of our mistakes are burnt up. Now we can start anew.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I think that the fact that here's what's interesting, right? The fire that consumed his work didn't destroy the fire that burned within him. And I think we need to think through that. The fire that consumed his work didn't destroy the fire that burned in him to continue his work, and his commitment remained. And I
Yeah.
think people tend to associate commitment with emotions. They
Right.
tend to, they
Especially in our day and age, everything's emotionally driven,
see,
right?
is that true? And so if they feel the right way, then they can follow through on their commitment. If things are going the right way, if it's turning out the way they hope it would, and whatever. But true commitment doesn't work that way. Commitment's not an emotion.
Yeah.
It's a characteristic. It's a quality. It's a quality trait that enables us to sort of reach what God's called us, who he's called us to be. So emotions rise and fall, but commitment is something that has to be resolute in the face of uncontrollable and unchanging conditions around us. So, we can't control our life circumstances, and no matter how much we pray and no matter how much we seek God, we cannot pray away the struggles of living in this fallen world. Like you talked about just a moment ago, there's a purpose in the pain. And so spiritual opposition and temptation and in this world you will have tribulation. That was the words
Yeah.
of Jesus.
Right.
Those things are going to happen until we're out of this world and we have new bodies. So I think that's why today it's important that, a solid person, a solid Christian, a solid disciple maker is really founded on a commitment to
Yeah.
say, no matter what else happens, I'm committed to make it across the finish line.
Yeah, it's kind of like faith. The Bible says that when we see him, there won't be the need for faith. Like faith will no longer be necessary because now we're going to see him in his fullness. And so faith is going to go away. And so it's kind of like, commitment, like you're talking about with the emotion. There's no need for commitment when
Sure.
everything's going great. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right. What are you
Like
committed to? That's a
the
great point. It's like when you talk about submission.
yeah.
What's the phrase that you often talk about with submission?
Yeah,
It's
not when you're in agreement, right?
yeah.
Not when you agree on
Submission
something,
starts. Submission starts where your
where
agreement ends.
agreement ends, correct. Yeah, because there's no need for submission if you're in agreement. We're all in agreement on that. And commitment's the same way. Like, what do you need commitment for when everything's going right, everything's going your way? It's what Jesus did, when everybody's following him because of the miracles and they're loving what he's doing, and there's huge crowds following him, and Jesus turns around, and the essence of his message is you need to be committed.
Mhm.
Right? Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can't be a part of me. What was he doing? Jesus was pressing in on that place of commitment. And then he turns to his disciples and says to them, look, this is
Right.
this is like this is the message version, I think, but basically said, look, boys, there's the door. If you want to go, now's probably just as good a time as any to hit the door. If you want to go, if you're not committed to this, you're gonna go.
If
And
you're looking
and
for a way out, here it is.
Right, and he brought them back from this place of thinking that it's all in the big crowds, the
Yeah.
miracles, and all of those kinds of things. Real commitment is tried and tested when there's things you don't understand. Well, I think that's the big part of it too, right? Because he's saying, "Eat my flesh and drink my blood." We know what he's talking about now. We understand that
Yeah.
the tie-in with communion and all that. They didn't have a clue what he was talking about. And I think a lot of times what happens with people in their walk in relationship with God is when there will be moments when
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't make a lot of sense in your life. It seems
Hello.
like everything is contrary, everything is going against what you would think God would want to do in your life.
Yeah.
And this is why I think, Ken, this idea of God's redemption of pain is so critical and so important, because if we don't understand the redemption of pain, we'll look at pain as judgment. We'll look at it like we've done something wrong, we've messed up. And certainly, there are consequences to our decisions, there's consequences to things we do. And we oftentimes bring pain into our own life. And yet, God has a way to redeem that pain and to make it for our
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
and to turn it around for us. And here, the key to this is you're never going to experience that unless you're committed to Him through the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yep.
If you're not committed to Him when everything is going completely contrary to what you think God can and should be doing in your life, then you're never going to see on the other side. I've made this statement before. Um, I've had people say many times in the middle of those kinds of situations, I've heard them say, "Man, I really should have trusted God more because now I'm on the other side and I could see what He was doing and whatever." I've never had one person ever tell me, "Man, I trusted God way too much." Right?
Hmm.
If you stick with God through it and you get on the other side, you can see God has a way of it's biblical, all things work. God has a way of working things for your good,
Right.
but there has to be that commitment piece when you don't understand, when it doesn't make sense.
Daniel Thompson said in the comments that word commitment scares a lot of people away nowadays. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting.
I wonder
That's very interesting.
I wonder if that has to do with the idea that, or the thought that, and I agree. I agree with the statement, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that commitment is something that when you think about commitment, being committed to something, that there is a natural association to that it's not always going to look the way you want it to look, like you just explained. It's not
Right.
always the outcomes aren't commitment basically is you're going to have to endure. And to endure something that doesn't feel good, to endure. So we live in a world today. Here's the crazy thing. This isn't just this isn't just my pondering and, philosophical musings. It's been pretty well documented that there was a transition in the millennial, sort of that millennial group, that from the millennials to into sort of Gen Z, there was a transition to that ultimate truth is experiential, that it's good or
Yeah.
it's knowable or whatever based upon those, upon experiences. And
Sure.
so, if experiences are the center point of your life, right? In other words, life is previous generations would say life is important because leaving your mark
Yeah,
and having a legacy and being a person of integrity and making a difference when you leave. When you check out of this world, make a difference. You know, there
sure.
was sort of this philosophy, and then with the advent of so much entertainment, you know, television and movies and radio and whatever, it was more people started kind of being geared more towards sort of an experiential, and they started moving away from sort of the puritanistic, you know, the Puritans sort of the work ethic and this honors God and whatever. It started to become this idea that, you know, life is what you experience, so get the most out of your experiences, and if the
Yeah,
experience isn't fun, then bail on it because life is short,
yeah,
right?
sure.
How about this phrase? Life is short, eat dessert first.
Right.
That's sort of a motto, trademark logo of the of this generation. So
I love it.
yeah. So our first point today, first key point, we got 4 points today. Our first key point is commitment is usually discovered in the midst of adversity,
Yeah,
right? You and the idea is you never know the level of your commitment until things get tough. Every one of us could stay committed to a marriage if everything was always good. Commitment, because it's self-determined character trait, is revealed, not built by adversity.
absolutely. And for us, you know, coming from the sports perspective, like, bro, you know, true colors show. Like, like there's nothing worse there as an athlete. There's nothing worse than a front runner, right?
Oh, bro.
When a guy when they're
Who's not
winning,
supposed to lose?
when they're winning, right? They're winning. They're talking junk. You know, they're acting like they're the best thing ever or whatever. And then the moment adversity comes, they wilt under pressure.
Bro.
Drove me crazy. I couldn't stand front runners. It just drove me nuts as an athlete. And the truth is, you really and you'll hear coaches say this all the time, you really don't know who you have or what you are until you hit adversity, until you get
Dude.
knocked down, until you're in trouble. And you see it a lot, like, you know, teams that go on to win championships, a lot of times they'll have a game or they'll have a series or they'll have something where it looks like it's over. I mean, think about the Boston Red Sox, right?
Oh,
Breaking
the
uh
Cubs.
the Cubs,
The Cubs
right.
World Series,
The
like they were
right.
done.
Dude, listen,
And they had a rain delay, bro.
When Rajay Davis hit that home run, God's honest truth, I'm laying on the floor and my wife is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I literally think I'm gonna throw up." This is the most Cub thing in the history of Cub things.
Yes,
Like, we're gonna lose this game. There's no
right.
doubt we're gonna lose this game.
They they
And
they must they took it they sprayed themselves with like goat urine. It's like
right,
this is this,
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
they've been goaded.
Right, right. But it was a team that was just they just had a resiliency, and I know they paid, Jason Hayward a bazillion dollars, whatever, but the speech that he gave just rallied the guys. They came back out and they overcame. They overcame the adversity. That man, that like, obviously the win is important for a 108-year curse to be broken.
Yeah.
But just overcoming those things is so critical. I think sometimes as Christians, we have this view. We know that we have the power and the authority of God, right? We know that we have victory. We know we're overcomers. But we do have a misperception. I think prosperity gospel has really given us a bad perception that we think that as believers, because we have the power and the authority of the name of Jesus and the authority of the blood of the Lamb, that we're never going to experience that. No, in this life, you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. Why? Because I have overcome the world,
Yeah.
right? That commitment to it's revealed. A lot of times, your faith, your commitment level, your willingness to go through, it's revealed not in the blessings, but in the moments where you're facing the most adversity.
Bro. You know, Gary Gothier mentioned about Michael Jordan, you know, who lost 3 years in a row to the Pistons, and talking about the pressure that molded him. And I think that even probably goes back to the fact that, Michael Jordan, he went to what, Wilmington, was it Wilmington, North Carolina was his high school, and and he was, he didn't make the varsity team his junior year. I think it was it his junior year or sophomore year. But anyway, and he was so distraught. And I remember, I watched a documentary on it or whatever, and his mom said, he came home and he was kind of, in the sort of that, I'm not, I don't think I'm going to play anymore. I'm done, and whatever. And his mom says, no, you don't need to quit. What you need to do is get in the gym and work harder. That was, I mean, I
Right.
think that's like a direct quote. But the thing is his ability to sort of rise above, uh,
Absolutely.
those things, to stay committed, to move forward, was really the thing that molded his greatness. And which actually kind of moves us into point two, Chris, which is that ultimately commitment is not dependent on gifts and abilities.
So good.
We
So
think
good.
we think the thing that made Michael Jordan great was his unique gifting and his unique abilities. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that Dad, in his, when I was in eighth grade, I was getting ready to go to a Bobby Knight invite camp at the University of Indiana, and we're on the road and we're in the car, and I'm like talking about how I'm so excited and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And Dad said, no, what's going to happen is you're going to go there and find out that everybody there is as good as you are.
Right.
You're
Right.
you're not going to go there and show everybody
Right.
how good you are. You're going to go there and get a revelation that there's a whole lot of players out there just as good as you, and what you do with that revelation is going to make the difference of what kind of athlete you are. If you
Mm,
go and go, "Oh, I thought I was the best." No, you were in your little world. But when you expand it out, all of a sudden what you're going to find out is there's going to be basketball players from about 20 different states, and you're going to find out that there's 100 basketball players, same age, same size, same everything as you. And so the concept was this: commitment and talent. Commitment and talent are unconnected.
right.
They're not connected concepts.
So
And
good.
commitment comes from your own will. Your talent often comes from giftings that you didn't do anything about, like your size, your speed,
Sure.
yeah. Well,
Sure.
did Michael Jordan have some unique physical giftings? Well, he's Air Jordan for a reason. You don't you don't learn
Right.
that, right? You don't learn
Right.
that stuff. And so he did have some giftings and some abilities that he didn't earn, but commitment came from his will. And many talented people lack commitment because they've always ridden on their gifting. And many people
Shoo,
who,
that's so good.
you know what I'm saying? And many people, on the flip side, many people who lack skills and talent are tremendously committed and end up actually going farther and doing greater than people that are immensely talented and gifted. So if you find someone who's extremely gifted, there's no guarantee that that person is going to be successful in their walk with God, in life, whatever, in their service to the kingdom, unless that gifting is matched with a high level of commitment. In fact, I'd rather have somebody who has an immense commitment level
Yeah.
with mediocre gifting than a
Yeah.
person with mediocre gift, or mediocre commitment level and immense gifting.
Man, absolutely. One of the greatest gifts given to me, I didn't view it this way till later on, but one of the greatest gifts given to me was I was always smaller than everybody else,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Freshman in high school, 5'2", weighed 80 pounds. But what that did, there was just, and a lot of it was the way we were raised. It was like you're talking about the coaching that dad put in you with that. What awesome coaching, right? You're
Yeah.
going to go and find everybody's as good as you are. There's a very thin margin that's going to
Yeah.
separate you.
Yeah.
And what being smaller than everybody else produced in me was I will prove you wrong.
Mhm.
I'm going to work so much harder than everybody else
Yeah.
because I've got guys, one of my buddies, he was
Yeah. I'm
a
gonna beat
freshman.
your assumptions.
Yeah, yeah, and I had a buddy 6 foot tall as a freshman in high school, and so, like, yeah, he's whooping up on everybody, as an
Right.
8th grader, freshman in high school, and so it produced that understanding that, man, I have got to be radically committed if I'm gonna accomplish anything, and that I mean, that was a tremendous gift to me that, like, I have to overcome that stuff. I very easily could have said, you know, we've talked about before, we're not the most athletic. We were raised in an environment where it just brought out some of those natural giftings, but really the thing that made us good in sports was that commitment level. Dad raised us. The thing that's going to separate you is how much time do you spend in the gym, how many shots you getting up, how much you working on your skills. That's what's going to separate and differentiate you. And so I think there are a lot of people that have 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 just kind of drifted
Mm.
on, spiritually, drifted on maybe spiritual giftings, or drifted on their spiritual sensitivity. And man, you need some seasons of your life where you've absolutely got to dig down
Bro,
deep in you
come on.
and determine that it's more than just my giftings and abilities. Like, I'm committed, I'm determined.
And let's just get out on the tip of the spear here. Let's get on the razor's edge and just say it like it is.
Yeah.
In a world where the attractional model prevails in the church and not a disciple making model,
Yeah.
in a world where your ability to your ability to attract more guests is based on the level of gifted people that you have in different positions,
Right.
if
Right.
then what happens is every step of the way, from local churches to Bible colleges, are
Phew.
are built around the philosophy
Mm.
of finding, procuring, and and uh, embellishing and shining the most gifted. Because if we could get the most gifted in more places, then our programs and services will be better. And
So
so,
good,
and
bro.
so,
So
man,
good.
let's just be honest, dude. Let's just be honest that if 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 our goal is to figure out how to get more people through the door, then what'll happen is we will our highest, our most honored, what's the word, valued, our
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
valued characteristic will be talent and gifting. If we're a disciple
Come
making
on.
movement, then our most valued characteristic will be a devotion to let Jesus change what you care about in kingdom values.
Man, that's so good. And we see it. We see how it's affecting church planning. So just just kind of go right after it, right? You can attract and draw in the most talented people, but you know, if their commitment level doesn't match, then at some point, this is where sometimes, a friend of mine always, he had this saying. He said, people would make this, they would say this prayer, Lord, use me. Right? We used to sing the
Yeah.
songs, if you can use anything, Lord, you can
Uh,
use me, and all that.
yeah.
Right? We'd sing those songs, and then people use or have their giftings and talents used, and then they would complain because they feel like they're being used. Right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
sometimes what happens is,
Right.
if you draw if gifting outpaces commitment level, then what happens a lot of times is those people will feel like that they're being taken advantage of. They'll feel like that, they're being burnt
Yeah.
out or whatever, if it doesn't, and it creates a culture. And so if you have a culture that's not deeply committed to things, it's built on talent, then that's what's gonna be valued. That's what you're gonna elevate and continue to do that. And at some point, Ken, you're gonna come into conflict culturally, like you're talking about. There's gonna be some level of conflict with that.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
but you're also what's interesting is I think along with that is that people aren't thankful
Sure.
because they feel like they've always sort of been geared, and the
Man, that's
mindset's always
true.
been that they're owed this because, hey, one day I can remember being at Bible college and the conversation was, dude, man, one of these days, dude, you're gonna be preaching general conference, bro.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What were they doing? They had learned to spot obvious gifting. And by the way, this isn't an either or
Bro, I
conversation.
literally was just getting ready to say the balloons were popping. I don't even know what that was right there. The balloons just popped up. What was that? I was literally gonna just say, man,
Right. I was
you
doing
don't
like
the balloons. Oh man, I don't know if anybody can see this but us, but this is awesome. Oh yeah, it's on Facebook. I just saw it on Facebook. It's on Facebook. Um, no,
oh, happy birthday,
yeah, that's right.
Stephanie.
I literally was just gonna say, like, this is not a mutually exclusive thing. This is not
No,
saying don't identify. I mean, the best case scenario is you have gifted
be
people.
Michael Jordan.
Correct.
Be committed, be gifted.
Correct. And you get both of those combined together. That's where you get, some synergy that moves forward. So absolutely, I agree 100%.
So it's like the USC quarterback.
Caleb
God, I
Williams.
can't think. Is that and after last year and the Heisman, run and all that, and then this year not so great. But with somebody had mentioned, maybe Connor. I think Connor Brown somewhere mentioned about like with the NIL
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
the name, image, and likeness. The new NCAA rules make it easy to be not committed. Like I can make money and whatever. And so we're not saying that gifted people aren't committed. The
Correct.
only really truly what I guess what we're saying is this. What we're saying is it takes a lot of discipling. It takes a lot of discipleship for somebody who is very gifted and very talented to have next level commitment, because oftentimes it's because as we as human nature, as humans, we're built on
Absolutely.
efficiency. Even our brain is built on
Sure.
efficiency. Information that we learned 2 weeks ago, and we're like, oh, I'm not going to forget this. But you don't think about it again. It's never come up in conversation or whatever. 2 weeks later, it's like, what was that
Right.
thing? Well, it's not that you have a bad memory. It's that your brain is built for efficiency. And so stuff that your brain kind of
Yeah.
learns, I know you're saying that you're going to need this, but you're really
Yeah.
not.
Right. Right.
So I'm going to push it back. And if it does, we'll bring it up and we'll put it in a higher shelf. But I think that's the thing. We're geared for efficiency. So how do we live? We live in such a way oftentimes that says, what's the easiest? What's the most result for the least amount of
Yeah.
input? And so, Chris, number
Number
three, commitment results from choices, not conditions.
Okay.
You want to walk through that
Go
one?
ahead.
All right. I love this story. Frederick Flack notes that most people look back in their
Flack.
Frederick.
It's awesome.
I'd like to hear W.C. Fields say that name. It says that most people look back on their lives and point to a specific time and place that marks a significant life change. Here's what he said, and I quote, "Whether by accident or design, there are the moments when, because of a readiness within
Okay.
us and a collaboration with events occurring around us, we are forced to seriously reappraise ourselves and the conditions under which we live, and to make certain choices that will affect the rest of our lives." He says there comes moments, I'll say it again, there comes moments that because of a readiness within us and a collaboration with the events occurring around us, we're forced to seriously reappraise ourselves and the conditions under which we live and make choices that affect the rest of our lives. Our commitment springs from those choices.
So from a discipleship perspective, when I hear you saying that, it starts with moments when, because of readiness within us, we would call that disciplability,
It's exactly right.
right? So there's
It's exactly right.
one of the frustrations sometimes is that we want people, we see, the adversity, we see the things that the choices, the things that they're doing in their lives, that
Yeah.
we know it's bringing hardship. I talked about the two ways mentioned in Proverbs when it says the ways of a transgressor are hard, but when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies be at peace with him. The ways of people that they live their life in contradiction to the ways of God, at some point, it's going to produce hardship in their life. It's going to produce difficulty in their
Hey,
life, right?
I'm gonna get on the organ right now.
But when a man's ways please the Lord, it makes even his enemies be at peace with him. Well, how does a man's ways please the Lord? When the
Mm-hmm.
ways of the Lord become his ways,
That's it.
right? And so, how does that happen? Disciplability. There's a readiness within us
Yep.
that says
Yep.
either I'm tired of living the way I'm living. I don't like what's being produced. I know that God has a better way. Like there's a whole variety of reasons of why people get to that place, uh, why
Bruh.
they're ready. And sometimes the events that happen. So he talks about, kind of this collaboration of that readiness with
Yeah.
events that come
Yeah.
together, but it hinges on
Yeah.
what? The choice.
Yeah.
It hinges
That's
on
it.
the choice, not the emotion, not any of the,
Nope.
it hinges on the choice that says, okay, I'm determined. I'm committed. I've made up my mind. Just real quick, I'll let you talk about this. But I was thinking about, a lot of the songs in like the old hymnals,
Bro, I was thinking, I am determined
right?
to hold out to the end.
Why?
I was just thinking of that while you were talking. Yep.
That literally is the song I was going to mention. Why? Why?
Stop it. Are you serious?
Seriously, that was the song I was going to mention. Why did people sing those songs? Because there was so much resistance. There was so much pushback. There was, the like literally, people getting tomatoes thrown at them, and like there was
Yes.
all this kind of stuff. But there was this like, I'm determined. I've made up my mind. I'm going to
Yep.
continue to move forward. That's not an emotional thing. That's not it.
Yeah.
It literally is. I've made a choice. I am determined to hold out to the end.
Man, in those days, being Pentecostal didn't sometimes feel blessed. Like it didn't,
We have no
it, it,
perspective on that.
it didn't feel blessed. And that's the thing where, and as a pastor, I'm just going to be honest. And it's a sad thing. I feel, sorry for Lifeway sometimes because I have a podcast and I mention, these kinds of things. But as a pastor, sometimes I do see people that I have to talk to and
Sure.
I have to, and sometimes you and I talk to each other because it's easy to get into this, fall into this, this ditch that we don't maybe recognize. And that is falling into this place where we go, man, I'm doing all of this.
Sure.
And there's a reason why there has to be a scripture in the Bible that says, be not weary in well doing, for in
Absolutely.
due season you'll reap if you faint not. I mean, it's human nature to say, man, I've committed to this, and boy, it sure doesn't seem like it's getting rewarded. David said, what good is it then?
Yeah.
David said, well, what good is it to the commitment that we've got for you, God? And it looks like the evildoers are actually have it better than we
Yeah.
do. He says, but then I understood their end. So I think there's where we come up with okay. So here, let me real quick, number
Yeah.
4, because I think this leads right
Sure.
into it. Just what
Yeah.
yours. Okay. Commitment lasts when it's based on kingdom values.
Talk to us. What's that
Wow.
mean? Tell us what that means.
Well, I believe that the only way to sustain commitment is to link it with the values of an individual, and the values of an individual have to be based on the values of Jesus Christ. So once our commitment's based on the values of Jesus and his kingdom,
Yes.
then you're not going to have any problem to sustain it. Number one is because here's the thing that I think that we don't often consider enough. In a world where people say your truth,
Sure.
what's your truth? Well, if I'm the arbiter of truth in my finiteness and in my fragility and in the volatility of the world around me, I can readjust. I'm in fact, I'm pretty good at readjusting my
Sure.
priorities. But unfortunately, it also falls into the category of sometimes readjusting my values.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and and so if I'm readjusting my values based upon me as the arbitrator of my truth or arbiter, then then I'm going to have a problem sustaining long term, because there's going to be moments where it's like, yeah, this isn't working. That might have been a bad idea. But if it's his truth,
Yeah.
then kingdom values will drive my choices. It's not going to be the moment. It's where I'm at in the moment. It's not going to be the condition of my heart. It's not going to be the lack of information that I've got, right? So the kingdom values transcend our talents. It transcends our skills, and they stand up under the test of adversity because they're truth and they're His truth and they're eternal. And the world is built on those truths. And so Jesus said, by Him were all things made, and by Him all things
Yeah.
consist. So I think in
Yeah.
that place, commitment lasts when it's based on kingdom values.
Man, absolutely. And I think it's important. A lot of times we think, this is where like that transformational piece has to happen. A lot of times um, we've had the thought that uh, more information is going to produce better behaviors. So if we could just
Uh-huh.
give people more information, this is why the values are so important. This is why the ways of the Lord have to become our ways,
Come
right?
on, bud. Man, that's so good.
We have to let his value. We have to be so radically convinced of what you just said. The world is built on the truths that God established, His principles. We have to genuinely believe that all things work together for good. You can know that. You can quote that. I mentioned on Sunday in our conversation, our first things conversation. Bart Ehrman is one of the great
Yeah.
theologians, one
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
most trusted scholars about biblical interpretation things and whatever. And he's an atheist. He has all the information. He has all the knowledge. So you can have the information. You can have you can read it. You can know about it. There needs to be the combination. This is why I think the combining together of spirit and truth, His word and His spirit, has to
Bro.
forge it into our spirits where His values become our values. Because again, why is that important, kid? Because there are going to be times and moments where it looks like the values of the kingdom are
Bro.
are in contradiction to everything around us. It's my
Please.
life is in contradiction to what I think the values are gonna produce, but I am so radically convinced that all things work together for good, that I'm willing to endure the hardship for the moment because I know on the other side of it, God is gonna work it for my good. I know that I can labor and do the labor, and I may not see the fruit, but I know the law of the harvest. As a man sows, that shall he also reap, right? Like, I understand all of those kinds of things, and I believe it so radically. Not just believe it, but those values have become my values, and so it allows me to endure the hardship. It allows me to endure the contradictions that are in my life.
Wow. What if what if those sets of principles were, if we equated them in this will be my last, this will be my closing statement today.
Okay?
What if faith that produces an adherence to the truths, the kingdom values, the truths of Jesus, if that faith then produces a commitment, the results of faith, the results of faith says, I'm going to adhere to this. This is our faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. So faith is okay. Oh, there we go. There it is. Thank you, Lord. Okay. The word faith comes from the Greek word
Okay?
pistuo, which means to go all in. Faith isn't a belief system.
Right.
Faith is a commitment on what has become revealed to
Yeah.
us. Faith is a decision. Faith isn't a belief system. And because the word pistuo means to go all in on something, to have complete trust, but to put all of your trust in something, which is a commitment. Um, what if having faith means that I believe God's word, and so Jesus gives us the ability to practice our
Okay?
faith? He says, if you've got 2 loaves of bread and your neighbor has none, take one of your loaves of bread and give it to your neighbor.
Right.
If you have 2 coats and your neighbor has none, give a coat to your
Sure.
neighbor. As humans, we fight and we work to mitigate loss because because as humans, we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose at something. We don't want to lose what we got. We don't lose the money. People don't want to just throw it away. But Jesus says, but adversity, pain, struggle often produces loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, if pain and adversity produces loss, then Jesus says, I can create an environment where you don't fear adversity. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
I could create an environment where you don't fear adversity because your fear of adversity is the fear of loss. What is our fear of sickness? Our fear of sickness is the fear of loss of our health.
Yeah. Right.
So what we can do, so I think what is important is that I think it's important for us to get to a point where what we realize is the stuff that what we do, the decisions that we make, to judge ourselves lest we be judged, to
Right.
fall on the rock and be broken lest the rock fall on us and grind us to powder.
Right.
That as we give and we what we do is we put ourselves in a position of lack. We put ourselves in a position of loss.
So good.
We put ourselves in a position of brokenness, so that all of the things that we as humans fear, by faith, we put ourselves into those positions to practice what we fear so that we actually overcome.
Man, that's so good, bro. That's so good. I know we're running up against the clock, but I think that's a great way to kind of just wrap it all together. So again, talking about the four things every every Christ follower, every disciple maker, every disciple needs to know about commitment. So number one, commitment's usually discovered in the midst of adversity. Number two, commitment does not depend on gifts and abilities. Number three, commitment results from choices, not conditions. And number four, commitment lasts when it's based on kingdom values. Bro,
That's it.
so important, man. So important.
There it is.
And I'll just say this: we touch mostly on the discipleship piece, which is important because you can't make disciples unless you're a disciple of Jesus. But it really is important on for somebody who has the heartbeat of Jesus and wants to be a disciple maker, because there will
There
be
it is.
disappointment. There will be frustration. You're like, man, I'm doing everything right. I'm putting my effort towards for pastors, trying to change the culture, trying to build this culture of disciple making. And you do it, and it seems like everything goes the exact opposite direction. If you don't have that commitment level, you'll chase the wind, whatever's popular, whatever's trending, whatever's going on. And that's why there has to be just this radical commitment to the values of the kingdom, or you're never going to make it, Ken.
Buddy, there it is. When it's all said and done, let's just be honest. When it's all said and done, at the end of the day, our commitment is going to be built on our ability to say, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Our commitment is going to be built on our capacity to say, I want it. And it's so, I want it and it's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, if you take those two concepts, I want it and it's worth it. Do you know what you just summarized?
Tell me.
A man went and found a treasure in a field and
Yep.
sold all that he had so he could buy the field so that he could get the treasure. He wanted it so bad, and it was worth it so much that he was willing to commit every other thing he had to get that.
True, man. Bro.
There's discipleship.
Nailed it. So good, man. So good. I did put in the comments, if you want to go back, I put in the comments the four keys of commitment. And so certainly make yourself available to that. You can go check that out there on Facebook and YouTube. It's in both those comments. So, man, Ken, great conversation today. Appreciate everybody jumping on, being a part of this discussion, and sticking with us through the ups and downs of our
Yeah.
scheduling and whatever. So we're back in the saddle, ready to rock and roll, and I appreciate that. Everybody, if you don't mind, just turn the notifications on so that when we go live, you are reminded that we are there and ready to go. You can check out all the information, social media sites, website, all that good stuff. Check it out. We got some good things coming, kid. 2024 is going to be, as we
Hey,
like to say, it's going to be a big one. It's going to
it's
be a
gonna
big one.
be a
You know
big
that's right. You know that's right.
Woo, man,
All
that's what
right.
I'm
Thank you,
talking
everybody, for
about.
being a part of the conversation today. We look forward to coming back to you next Tuesday around 10 o'clock. Until then, go live mobilized.